Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to the second annual OAA Now. I am Sammy Taormina, blogger of the Dragon's Den and also host of the show Between Taorminas. I'd like to welcome my guest today is the Lake Orion Double O Trophy, which is here. It's a double trophy between the Dragons of Lake Orion and the Wildcats of Oxford. It is an interesting trophy, a lot of history between the Dragons and the Wildcats in football. But today we're going to talk about another sport, and that'll be girls volleyball. But first, we have some breaking news coming in from West Bloomfield that the two Nigerian transfers look like they're going to be going to UAD Jesuit after a court ruling came through, and it's a very interesting situation. I think that the main loser out of this is West Bloomfield because, but who knows? The story is not over yet. We'll keep an eye on it as we speak. But now let's go to girls volleyball. Of course, this is a very interesting year from a year ago. Last season it was a interesting season. I mean, we had a lot of surprises. We had a lot of ups, we had a lot of downs, and we've had a lot of wins and a lot of losses. You look at it, you got some new coaches in there for, of course, especially one new coach will be at Lake Orion this year. Out is Ross Talbot, and in is Tony Scrivata. But first, we're going to go to the for the divisions this year. We're going to go with the OAA Blue, and it's a very interesting league though because you look at the Blue's not recognized a lot. I mean, but they have some good teams in this division in this league. You look at the Blue, mostly, you got a lot of people say the Blue is a weak division. I don't think it's not, but you never know. I mean, when you look at the league coming into the year, you got some good teams in there. I mean, but also you got some teams that could really struggle. You know what I mean? If you look at teams like Southfield, Lathrop, and Pontiac this year in volleyball, they're a little bit down this year. I mean, they've been struggling for years when it comes to talent, and it could struggle. When I look at when you look at the season this year that Southfield, Lathrop, and Pontiac could have this year. So we'll see what happens there. But, when I look at the Blue this year, one of the team that I think is favored to win that division is Avondale, because if you look at it, head coach Rosemary Modeni of Auburn Hills Avondale's got a very good talented crew coming back. This was a team, remember, last year that lost to Troy Athens in the district final a year ago. I think that the two players I mentioned here, actually there's three of them. When you look at Colleen Mayer, who's a very good outside hitter, Emma Ahern, a very good setter, and of course you got Haley Bittinger, who is a very good middle hitter for Avondale. But I think those three girls are going to be key. When you look at the Yellow Jackets, it's going to be very interesting to watch how they play because this is a very experienced team that they got back. It's a very good program they got back. I think Avondale is probably one of the most dangerous teams in the Blue this year. The next team here I'm going to mention, of course, is the Royal Oak Ravens. The Ravens improved last year. They got a very good crew back. Heidi Stubacher is going to be loaded this year when you look at Avondale. When you look at Royal Oak, you got Alyssa Kapinski back. She did play basketball for Royal Oak, and that's going to be a very interesting setup when it comes to that one. And I also got another girl named Nina Savage, who is going to be a very, very good outside hitter. She can also play middle. I think that those two girls, and they had a very strong JV team from a year ago, that Royal Oak could be a team to reckon with. I think they're a dangerous team this year, and I think they can make some noise once district play comes, So that'll be, Royal Oak's an interesting team to watch, and I think they're going to be a good team to watch, I think, in the very near future. Of course, the next team here, a lot of people look at this team very differently, very different views when it comes to the Mines. I look at Oak Park this year, the Knights, they just restarted their middle school team back up, and for second-year coach Antoine Davis, this is very important, especially when you have to get a middle school team going. I think the middle school team feeds into the varsity, feeds into the freshman JV and varsity programs that you're trying to do there. I think that it was a good decision, I think, by athletic director Greg Carter and also Coach Antoine Davis to say, let's put a middle school team program in here and let's go with it, And then, of course, and Oak Park, this team is also talented, too. You got a 6'1" middle hitter coming back in Jasmine Stackhouse. Stackhouse had a really big year a year ago. This is on a team with Oak Park, and this is not a bad team either. They got Tamaya Tompkins is also returning. She's a very good setter. Michaela Mullins is a good setter for this team. She's an outside hitter, my bad. When you look at Oak Park, I think they had an interesting year a year ago, but Oak Park, I think, is that team on the rise. And I think the Knights can be a very, very dangerous team to look at coming into the year. I think they're probably the third best team in this league. Another team to keep an eye on this year, of course, is the Ferndale Eagles. The Eagles this year, of course, this is an interesting year for second-year coach Stacy Shook, who took over this program. They had two very good players that they had just lost a year ago, but they did return some key players. They return Emily Kulak, who was a very good outside hitter, and also Carly Wilson, and also Cindy Donaldson is an interesting one. I think she is going to be the middle hitter, and they got Mackenzie Grobel, who is one of their top setters, and I think that Ferndale could have a chance to do some damage this year. But I think, they got some experience back. Ferndale's going to be, I think they'll be in that race, in that conversation for maybe in the dark horse spot. I put them there on that pretty close to that dark horse spot, and then, of course, it'll be an interesting year over there for Ferndale. Of course, the next team here on this list, of course, is the Vikings of Hazel Park. Hazel Park, of course, lost a lot of talent from a team that went to the regional final a year ago. Hazel Park, of course, now moves up from Class B to Class A, and they're in that Warren district, which is a very interesting district to look at. But Hazel Park, of course, under Coach Sue Stoof, it could be a very interesting year for Hazel Park. Their JV was not the greatest. They do return one player back from that team in Cheyenne Ferris. Actually, they returned three players. One of them is Cheyenne Ferris. Ferris had a really nice year last year for Hazel Park. But when you look at the Vikings, they could have a struggle here in this year in 2014. Also, when you look at it here, the Blue, they got a lot. When you look at scheduling, the Blue, they'll usually play some outside competition, like they'll play some teams in the white. They'll probably play some games in that, you know what I mean? They'll probably, split squad some games. I think that'll be very interesting to look at, especially when you look at the season that teams in the Blue are going to have. I think when you look at the Blue this year, the best team in this league is Avondale, because you got to look at they return a lot of experience. This is a team that should be motivated. This is a team that lost to Troy Athens last year in the district final. They should be motivated there. But also you got to look at who they returned back. Colleen Mayer is going to be a very good player back. Emma Ahern. And, of course, you got to look at also the key for Avondale is if they got to stay healthy. If this team stays healthy, Avondale could surprise some people this year. Of course, I think Royal Oak is going to be another team to watch for coming up because, when you look at the Ravens, the Ravens are not a bad team. They have a nice rivalry with Berkeley from the white. It's a very unique situation that Berkeley has. That Royal Oak has, because they play in the same district. They're pretty close by. I think that, with Karpinski and Sawich, I think they're going to be the ones having to carry the load this year a little bit. But their JV team is not a bad group at all to handle. And then, of course, when I look at Oak Park, very interesting team to look at with the Knights. Oak Park is a unique. They had a very young team last year. They say that they have matured this year. I don't know if I could say that, but it looks like if Stackhouse can carry that team, Oak Park will go places this year, and I think she will. But, however, there's going to be some teams that are going to try to counter and make Stackhouse less effective, and that could be the key if you want to beat Oak Park this year. But if Oak Park can develop the, especially Mullins and Tompkins, you know what I mean, and their other supporting cast, I think Oak Park is going to be a very, very unique team to watch this year, you know what I mean. And also, you also got the effect of course, but but it is what it is. When I look at Ferndale, of course, Ferndale season outlook, they were not good last year. They're going to get better this year. I think Ferndale's going to be a team to look at in the future. I mean, like this, and also when you look at their district, it's an interesting one. I think Ferndale can compete for sure this year. I think, but of course, when I look at Ferndale, they got the size to do it. You know what I mean? I mean, Kullock and Wilson are two very good players outside, and also they can both play in the middle. And then you got to look at a team like Hazel Park, who actually lost a lot of senior talent from a year ago. This is a team, remember, relied a lot on their senior class to carry this team. It's going to be a dangerous, difficult path for Hazel Park, I think. They only returned 3 players back from the varsity team, and it's dangerous over there this year, I think, over at Hazel Park. And then, of course, Southfield. Southfield actually is a team I forgot to mention this year. They're in this division as well. The Blue Jays, of course, they're known for their speed. They're well known for their talent and ability. I think Southfield they're a team to watch this year, I think, when it comes to their speed and their athleticism. And remember, a couple of years ago in 2011, this team went to the regional semis until they got knocked off by Troy. So Southfield's they still got a good program over there. I think that if they could turn it around, I think it could do some damage. And then, of course, you got Southfield, Lathrop, and Pontiac. Those two teams I expect are going to probably struggle this year. A couple games I'll be looking forward to in the blue, of course, is Avondale and Royal Oak. Of course, that could be the game of the year there. In the blue, of course, you can't count out Oak Park, Avondale, Royal Oak, Oak Park, Ferndale, Avondale, Oak Park, Ferndale, and, of course, let's not count out Hazel Park. But I think clearly the top game that could decide the blue this year will be Royal Oak and Avondale, I think, because those are, I think, the two best teams in that division when I look at the blue. And then, of course, but Oak Park is going to really be a huge factor this year. I think Oak Park, Ferndale are going to be huge players this year. And I think that, and I think Southfield's a team to watch. But I don't expect much from Southfield, Lathrop, or from Pontiac heading into the season this year. Now I won't be sure, but you never know. I mean, like, it depends when it comes. And then, of course, when you look at district play, of course, Avondale will be in that tough district with Troy Athens, Royal Oak, of course, with Groves. Oak Park is in there with Berkeley as well as Royal Oak. And then Ferndale, of course, is in the Class B district. Hazel Park's in the Warrenmont district. And also Southfield Lathrop is with Royal Oak and Oak Park. Southfield's with Mercy, which is going to be tough for them. And then, of course, you got Pontiac, who's going to be with the Troy in that Troy district. So when we come back on OAA now, we're going to talk about the OAA White, and very curious to see we got some well-known people here. Of course, I am here with the Double O Trophy as my guest. Of course, a lot of people know the trophy history, of course, with Lake Orion and Oxford in football. So you're watching OAA now on ONTV.
Prescription drug abuse is a national epidemic. The new in way to obtain drugs is through parents' or grandparents' medicine chests. Removing prescriptions from your cabinet is the best way to keep drugs out of the hands of our young people. We've got to work together to protect our teens, our seniors, and our environment. Clean out your medicine cabinet today. Please participate in Operation Medicine Cabinet and drop off your unwanted or expired prescriptions at one of our law enforcement drop-off sites in Oakland County. We can't ignore this situation anymore.
Welcome back to OA Now. I am Sammy Taormina of the Dragon's Den and also a show between Taorminas on ONTV. Of course, the breaking news story. Of course, we mentioned earlier on the broadcast is the transfers from UAD transfers. The two Nigerian transfers are going to go to UAD, looking like they're going to go to UAD Jesuit to start the school year. Unfortunately, it was a court case that happened last week, and unfortunately for West Bloomfield fans, it does not look good. But you never know. This case is still not over, and we're keeping an eye on the situation as it progresses. Now let's go to the OAA White. When you look at the White this year, you have some new faces. You had some old faces from a year ago. You look at some of these teams back who they return. I mean, like, the White's a very unique league to look at. When you look at it here, I mean, like, last year, Troy Athens had a really nice run last year. Berkeley had a nice run last year. Of course, Harrison, known they upset North Farmington a season ago. They're looking for a rise there in the in the White, but also Royal Oak take back, North Farmington actually moved down from the red to the White. And then, of course, you got Rochester, who are an improving bunch. And then, of course, you got West Bloomfield. We'll see what happens this year in the White. I mean, like, but you look at the situation, I mean, like, Groves, of course, made a big run last year. They went to the regional semis and then they lost to Birmingham Marion. And I think Groves could be an interesting team to watch. They lost a lot of size. They still got some depth, but the depth may be a little bit different than they've had in years past. Troy Athens is an interesting team to watch this year, and we'll go over these teams in about 2 minutes here on the Dragons, here on OA Now. Of course, you look at the White this year. It's a very, very interesting league. I think it's a balanced league this year. Looking at the White, I think one of the favorites this year, when you look at the OA White, is, of course, the Berkeley Bears. Of course, Berkeley was a team that did some wonders last year. Of course, they have a second-year coach in Eric Gardner, who actually led Berkeley to a very nice season a year ago. Of course, when you look at Berkeley, I mean, the Bears, they play, I mean, their basketball court, pretty old gym. I mean, like, it's not the greatest of places to play at, but Berkeley, usually they like to take advantage of their home court, and I think this is an interesting team to watch when it comes to the Bears. Berkeley's got two very good players led by Chloe Wrinkle, who is their defensive specialist, and also Grace Hamill, who is an outside hitter this year. Actually, Chloe Wrinkle plays in the back row, and also Grace Hamill is their outside hitter. I think that's the key right there to have a successful season. Is you got to have an outside, you got to have a good defensive game plan. Can't make mistakes in volleyball, because if you make a mistake in girls volleyball, it'll come back and kill you. I think Berkeley's one of the teams to beat in the blue, but we'll see what happens, with the Bears. They're an interesting team to watch, and when you look at Berkeley, it's a unique team to look at heading into 2014. Next team I'm very curious to see, especially what happened last year. This was a team that went to the regional semis. Of course, they had a tough loss to Clarkston a year ago. You look at a team like Troy Athens, the Red Hawks. This is the Red Hawks here that we know as coached by Christine Stanchuk, who had a very nice year last year. Of course, this is a team that returns 8 players, but they lost a lot of talent last year. Of course, you lose Lauren Atwell, Lauren Generu, Mary Grace Stark. Those 3 players are going to be tough to replace, I think, for Troy Athens, because those 3 girls really were the heart and soul of that team. But Troy Athens does have some players back that they return. They're going to be very good. Of course, they had a girl by the name of Alexis Van Hoff. Of course, a lot of people in the basketball world know John Van Hoff, of course. John Van Hoff was a very good player. He's going to be back for his senior season at Troy Athens for the boys basketball team. But also his sister Alexis, she's got some size. She's a very good setter. She's also she can do some kills. She can do some outside hitting. Actually, she's an outside hitter. My bad. She can do some kills. She's a very good in space, and I think she's going to have a huge year. I think I'm very high on Alexis Van Hoff over there at Troy Athens. The next one I'm very high on is Dakota Stanchuk. Of course, this is Christine's daughter. Of course, she had another one last year. But I think Dakota Stanchuk, very good setter. She can set everything up. She's a very good player, I think. And I think that Troy Athens is going to be a team to look at and watch heading into the season. When you look at the Red Hawks, this is a team that everybody knows about. You know what I mean? Like, this is, when you look at the city of Troy, of course, you got Troy, Athens, and you got Troy. The city of Troy, known for good volleyball, but it's not like Birmingham in that area, but Troy's got some very good talented volleyball players. And then this next player here I'm very excited to look at is, it's just, this girl I think is going to be I think she could be one of the best players in the white this year, and her name is Michelle Donato. This is why. Because, she's a good defender. She's a libero. Liberos have to control the game. They control everything. Everything in the set, they have to do it. And when you look at Donato, she was a very good player last year. She did very, very well for Troy Athens when they need to. I mean, she is going to be a very good player this year, and I think she's going to be the key to lead that Troy Athens team. And another one, of course, is Carly Flips. Of course, she was a defensive specialist, but there was one game, in fact, she had to play libero. And that was a very unique situation when Donato got hurt. Flips just took over that game, and Troy Athens ended up winning that matchup. I'm not sure who that was up against, but she's going to be, I think Troy Athens is going to be a very interesting team to watch heading into the year. Of course, them and Berkeley, that's always been a huge rivalry game right there. I think Troy Athens and Berkeley is going to be a very interesting matchup to watch. And then, of course, the next team I'm curious to see this year is, of course, Rochester Adams is, of course, everybody knows the coach, Ira Gardner. Of course, he was a longtime coach at Birmingham Marion before having a fallout with the Mustangs, and then coming over to coach the Highlanders of Rochester Adams. I think this was a very interesting year last year for Gardner and his crew at Adams. I think that they had a very young team, but I'm curious, they lose their libero from a year ago, how this young Adams team is going to grow up. And I'm hoping this year for Adams, this is a year that they grow up real fast. But they have some good pieces in there. They got Madison Tuscany is back. I think that she'll carry Adams this year, you know what I mean? But looking at the season, this could be an interesting year for Ira Gardner, because usually when you look at it, teams always turn around their teams in the second year of their season. When you look at Adams, they always had a very nice, and of course, in the reputation of Ira Gardner, of course, he turns around quickly, and I think he's going to do that this year with this team. This could be the year that Adams can do some wonders this year when looking at this team. They're very young, yes, but they got some time to grow. They had to go through a transition last year. Adams actually grew up late in the year. They actually played improved volleyball, but when they look at it here, I think Ira Gardner has this team going in the right direction. The next team I'm looking forward to is Beverly Hills Willie Groves. The Falcons, of course, they went to regional semis last year. Of course, they were coached by Stacy Brown. Of course, very interesting coach. I mean, they got some size back. They got some depth. They got some questions, though, that linger for them, and will they have enough experience? Will they have enough? They got some size, let's don't forget. I mean, they got a couple girls who have some size. But I'm curious to see how Groves does in this season, especially when you know that Berkeley's going to be better, Troy Athens will be better, and this whole league, the white, is going to be a tough league to look at in the near future when you look at the OAA white heading into the season. Of course, Groves, they won the white last year. They won the white last year. Of course, they won their district last year, and of course, they went to regional, which was at Lake Orion. The next team I'm curious to see, of course, is North Farmington, the Raiders. The North Farmington Raiders, yes. Last year was a miserable year for Jessica Consenti. Very young team, started 5 freshmen. Now they're going to be sophomores. They have a year experience, and I think this could be an interesting turner. And, of course, last year, let's not forget, they were upset in the first round of the state playoffs by Harrison. That was not very good last year. And that was just, when you look at Harrison, you know what I mean? Of all teams, your arch rival to beat you in the playoffs in the district. You were in the red last year, and Harrison was in the white last year. So now you're in a new division now. You got to play them, and you got to deal with them. And I think Jessica Consenti's going to have them ready to go for the season. It's a whole new slate of opponents, but it should be a familiar slate of opponents for North Farmington. They're, of course, they're being led by Haley Kwasawa, my bad. She is a setter for North Farmington, and I think, and they got some other talented players, too, that to keep an eye on this season. Of course, the next team we're going to talk about is the team that beat North Farmington last year, and that was Harrison. Farmington Hills Harrison, of course, has two very good players back for Coach Michael Love. You know what I mean? And Stephanie Jankovic and Mikhail Coleman. Both. Jankovic is a setter, of course. She was huge in that North Farmington game. And also Mikhail Coleman was also huge in that game, getting out kills in that game. That was just very, very shocking to see what that one, that happened over there at Birmingham Marion last year. But when you look at the league, it's an interesting league to watch. The next team to watch is Rochester, of course. Of course, last season the Falcons under Coach Lauren Duquette, had a very young team. Of course, this is a team that still is trying to rebound from the loss of Stephanie Sikorsky 2 seasons ago. Of course, Sikorsky is probably one of Rochester's best players they've had during that era. And, of course, Rochester, they got some players back. Though I think they're going to be improved this year, but I'm not sure how that they're going to handle it this year, of course, when you look at them. But they've had a lot of girls actually play travel volleyball. They've had a lot of people just and it's unfortunate, that some of them did not even come out and play basketball, and that's unfortunate right there. And then, of course, you look at the last team here on this list, of course, is the Lakers of West Bloomfield. Of course, West Bloomfield, they're athletic. They're known for their athleticism. This is but, they got some questions coming in, when it comes to how they're going to be handled this year. I think that they're an interesting team to watch when you look at West Bloomfield. The Lakers, they could surprise some people this year, but you never know. Because when you look at West Bloomfield, and also when they're in that district, in their season, it could be an interesting year in Lakerland. When you go into the games I'm curious to see this year will be Troy Athens and Berkeley. I think that'll be a very good matchup right there. Troy Athens and Groves is always going to be an interesting one because the Red Hawks, they got some depth. They got some, especially up front, But, of course, Harrison's got to play North Farmington this year. Everybody's got to play everybody here in the white, and I think it's going to be an interesting year. But like the white, they do have to play some share of a blue team. Of course, Rochester always has that 4-team tournament that they have over at they had it last year at Rochester when you have Rochester Adams, Stony Creek, and Rochester Hills Lutheran Northwest. This is called the Battle of Rochester. Of course, last year the champion was Stony Creek. So that could be an interesting team to watch, especially with Rochester and Rochester Adams. You know what I mean? I think Adams is a better team, and I think Rochester's improved. Don't know much about Rochester Lutheran Northwest, but they've always had some good teams in the past, and then you got to look at a team like looking at into the near future, in the very, very near future, like in November, of course, in their districts, of course, Troy Athens, is in that district with Troy, and of course, you got to look at Troy, and that's a tough district right there, and Avondale, my bad, I'm there, apologies to the Yellow Jackets. Harrison, of course, is with Birmingham Marion, North Farmington, Seaholm, and Bloomfield Hills. Of course, Berkeley is with Lathrop, Oak Park, Royal Oak, and you got Groves in there also. And it'll be a very interesting district when you look at the white. I think when you look at it this year, I think the favorite's Berkeley because they return a lot of experience back. But you cannot count out Troy Athens at all. You look at the Red Hawks. This is a very talented team. They returned 8 players from a team that was very, very good a year ago. I think this will be a big year for Alexis Van Hoff. I think she is the player to watch. And also watch out for Dakota Stanchuk. I think she's going to be a very good player to watch in the white this year. Of course, also not forget Michelle Donato, who I think is going to have a big year as well. Of course, my third best team here, of course, is the Groves Falcons. I think Groves is going to be a very interesting team to watch. When you look at them, they return some experience. They got some size back. This is a team that to keep an eye on this year is Groves because this is a team that won a district title last year. This is a team that got overwhelmed by Birmingham Marion last year. And this is an interesting team to watch, especially this year with Groves. The next fourth place team in this league in the white, I got is Rochester Adams. Of course, the Highlanders, Ira Gardner, his coaching, and you got some good players back in Madison Tukansky. I think that she's going to be the one. She'll carry the Highlanders this year. I think that Adams will be. They're a team on the rise for sure. They're a team to watch out for, I think, when you look at it. Of course, my fifth place team is Farmington Hills Harrison. The Hawks, this year, of course, they returned two very good players back in Michelle Coleman and Stephanie Jankovic for Coach Michael Love and his Hawks team this year. There's a lot of hope there and optimism there. Next best team is North Farmington. Of course, the Raiders. Of course, they were going through a tough rebuild after having a very good team 2 seasons ago for Jessica Concetti. Last year, they started 5 freshmen. Now they're 5. Those 5 freshmen are now sophomores. I think they'll have a year of experience. I think that red experience will help North Farmington this year, especially when they build on their team success. The next best team here on this list is Rochester. This is a team I think that can improve a lot when you look at Rochester. They had a tough year last year, very young team last year. Now they're a little bit more mature than they've been in years past. But you got to look at the Falcons. This is a team clearly on the rise over there. And, of course, this is a team to basically look at heading into 2014. And the last place team on the white is West Bloomfield. The Lakers, Showtime, better known as. When you look at the Lakers, this is a young team. I think they're going to be a little bit young. They're going to be a little bit inexperienced. I just think when you look at West Bloomfield, this is a team to watch for heading into the year. And I think the white could be a very interesting division. It could surprise some people heading into the 2014 season. Now, when we come back to OAA now, we're going to talk the OAA Red. Of course, this is one of the toughest divisions in the state here on OAA now on ON TV.
We own a Habitat home.
I love working on my Habitat home.
Soy dueño de una casa de Habitat.
My neighbor is a Habitat homeowner.
Being a Habitat homeowner has changed our lives.
My mortgage payment for Habitat is less than what I paid for rent.
Habitat for Humanity of Oakland County currently has homes available with mortgage payments lower than most rent payments. If you or someone you know needs decent and affordable housing, call 248-338-1843 or visit our website at habitatoakland.org.
Welcome back to OA Now. I am Sammy Taormina, the host of OA Now, of course, blogger for the Dragon's Den, and also the one of the hosts of Between Taorminas on Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock on ON TV. Of course, my guest here today is the Lake Orion Double O Trophy. Of course, everybody knows the history about it between Lake Orion and Oxford. The trophy here has been one of the best to ever carry this league. Lake Orion's got it this year in football, of course, being Oxford 35-30. This year they play week 4 of the regular season. That game will be back at Oxford, and we'll see what happens this year if the trophy can stay back at Lake Orion or it has to go to Oxford. But hoping the trophy stays in Lake Orion. Hoping that. Now let's talk about the OA Red, which is a very unique league because you got Clarkson, who's the 7-time champions in this league. You got, of course, you got Birmingham Seaholm, a team that was very, very young last year, but they were very, very good and talented. You got to look at a team also like you got Oxford in here, you got Stony Creek in here, you got Troy who was in here, and of course you got Stony Creek and Bloomfield Hills, and also Farmington actually moves up from the white to the red. And they could be an interesting team to watch this year. When you look at it here, Clarkson, of course, they went to the regional final a year ago. They lost to Birmingham Marion. Birmingham Seaholm actually was also. They lost in the district final to Birmingham Marion. Of course, Clarkson did beat Lake Orion, which was Lake Orion's a state power. So is Clarkston. Seaholm's also one of those teams to watch this year. And then, of course, you got to look at You got to look at Stony Creek. It could surprise some people. And also Troy, you know what I mean? Like Coach Vince Muscat and his girls, they returned 13 to 14 starters from a team that was decimated a year ago. So let's go with the OAA Red. Of course, the Red is, of course, one of the toughest conferences in the state. Of course, you got your teams out west like Genesee. You got your teams out there in the west that are very, very good as well. But of course, you look at the top team I think in this league this year is Birmingham Seaholm. Reason why was because they returned a lot of players. Coach Heather Lippert has her girls returning a lot. Of course, they're led by Paige Zwick and Madison Martin. Of course, Zwick is the setter. Madison Martin is their libero. And, of course, they got some very good talented outside hitters in Ann Scheffler. Also got a good middle hitter in Kate Carey. And then, this is an interesting team. And also got Lauren McLeod, who is their middle hitter as well. So Birmingham Seaholm's a very interesting team to watch. This is a unique team to look at when it comes to the Maples. Let's not forget, this Maples team, they were not supposed to do much last year. They weren't supposed to do hardly anything at all last year. Remember 2 years ago, of course, Lippert took her Maples to the state quarterfinals. They had a very experienced team. They had Paige Newton. Of course, this is a program that's known to have both Paige Nugentfeld and Aaron Nugentfeld. You know what I mean? So this was a program that, a lot of people thought, this Birmingham Seaholm team was going to struggle this year. They were going to be a little bit down, but, they ended up making surprising expectations. They beat Clarkston. They beat Lake Orion, in 5 games. That was one of the teams that Seaholm did. So the Maples, this is a team to watch. I think they got a lot of experience back. This is a team, I think that's a dangerous team to watch heading into the season. And if I'm the rest of the Red, and when you look in the district play, if I'm Birmingham Marion, and of course, Birmingham Marion's got a very good group of girls returning, of course, and Megan Cotant's one of them. And of course, for Coach Angela Kosecki, I think that's the name of their coach. If I'm Birmingham Marion, this is a team I'm really taking seriously. It's Birmingham Seaholm for sure, because they're experienced. I think they got a mission. I think they're motivated to do some damage this year, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're favored in the Red this year. The next team here on this list, of course, I'm gonna go with the Clarkson Wolves, because Kelly Arrow and her Wolves has been it's been interesting with Clarkson. This is a 7-time Red champion. They have had everybody's number, including Lake Orion. And, of course, Clarkson does return Taylor Dillinger, of course. Dillinger's getting a lot of offers. I've heard about that. But Dillinger, of course, she's a very good player. She can play outside. She can play inside. She can also play back row. This is where Dillinger's going to have to really carry the load. Clarkson's got some good players back, though. Also, Melanie Waggle's one of them. I think that if they can develop their back row in their libero situation, if they can get that situation, I think Clarkson's going to go places this year. And also, they can make another run again when you look at it. And then, of course, the next team here, of course, when you look at Clarkston, of course, they start off slow and they pick it up late in the year. And this is what the formula has been for the last 3 years for Kelly Arrow and her Wolves. Has been that type of formula. Of course, the next team here on this list, very interesting, to say the least, is the Lake Orion Dragons, because this is a team, in my opinion, that has had opportunity after opportunity to get over that hump. You know what I mean? This is going to be their third coach in 4 years since 2011, when, of course, led by Coach Bob Howie, that the Dragons went to the state finals. Of course, they knocked off Clarkson in that path in Birmingham Marion and also Macomb, Dakota. But this has to be, I think, the year for Lake Orion, that if they want to make a move, this is where they have to make a move, because you got Rachel Gaiwa coming back, and I think Rachel Gaiwa is the best player on this team, because a lot of people are going to say, yeah, Hannah Murdoch is, but when you look at a popularity contest with Murdoch, I just think that, when I look at the Murdoch family, when you got Sophie, you got Shannon, of course, Murdoch is an interesting one to look at when it comes to, she's had some games where she's been dominant, and then there's been some games where she has not been dominant. So I think the key for this team goes through Hannah Murdoch. I think if she has to be on her game for this team to be successful. Of course, Lake Orion's got some other key pieces back in Corey Varney and Weiss Herkmans, and also got the Winter twins, Nicole and Natalie Weiner. I think they're gonna do some damage this year for first year varsity coach Tony Scrivata. But the question is, can this team gel, and also can they develop? They gotta stop. They gotta be consistent. They cannot be sloppy. This team has been, in the last 3 seasons, this Lake Orion team has been sloppy. They've had games where they look really good, and then there's been games where they just looked really sloppy. In that Seaholm game last year, in that third game, they looked absolutely mind-boggled. When I look at this team this year, it comes down to consistency. If the Dragons can gel this year, then this team's going to be in good places, I think. But if they can't, then they're in deep, deep trouble. Because when you look at the league this year, of course, you got Seaholm is in there. You got Clarkston. You can't count out Troy. You can't count out whoever. And then anybody else. You can't take teams lightly, if it's tournaments or if it's anything else. This team, they have to. This is the year I think Lake Orion has to make that jump. They got to stop the consistency troubles. Lack of consistency, lack of effort. This is the year. If they don't, then this could be a long year for the Dragons. Next best team here on this list, of course, is the Colts of Troy. Of course, this is a team last year that was just mind-boggled. They lost Olivia Parks to injury. This is an unfortunate situation for Coach Vince Muscat. Was Troy, of course, they were not even in games, and that's sad. They were a very young team. Olivia Parks is supposed to carry the load for Troy. When you look at Troy, I think that, but they got some key pieces back. 13 of 14 players are back for Troy. You got Lauren Ferguson, Cindy Alexander being 2 of those girls, I think, that are back. I think Troy is the team, I think, to watch this year when it comes to, because they return a lot of talent. They were decimated a year ago. They've been through the ups. They've been through the downs. This is a team, I think, in Troy that could do some wonders heading into the season this year. Of course, the next team here on this list, of course, is Bloomfield Hills, the Blackhawks. Of course, last year, of course, you had the merger between Bloomfield Hills Losser and Bloomfield Hills Andover. And, of course, Robert Hurdle, of course, the coach there, decided, they put everybody together. They had 15 players a year ago. They lose 9 of them last year. Now they have 6 players back. This is a very unique team to watch. They had a very strong JV team, but they have to go to Clarkson and Lake Orion this year. Schedule is not going to be favorable for Bloomfield Hills this year when you look at it. And then Bloomfield Hills, they could do some damage this year. They could be decent, but also this team could struggle. If they're on an up and down thing here this year, they're one of those teams that can win the Red, but are also one of those teams that can lose the Red. And they should be motivated after last year because they lost to Birmingham Seaholm in the playoffs on their home court. I should take back, it was at Birmingham Marion, my bad. But this is a team that should be motivated this year to do some damage. Of course, the next team here on this list, of course, is the Oxford Wildcats. Of course, Oxford lost Darian Bandel from a year ago. She graduated. She's now at Oakland University now. She's going to be a very good player for the women's program at Oakland. Of course, they're in that Tough Horizon League. But it'll be interesting for Coach Chrissy McDevitt that she could have. She does have some talent coming back. They return 8 players, but those players they lost were mind-boggling players. They were very good players for this team. I think when you look at it, I think Oxford's a very unique team to watch. I think that it could be an interesting year. It could also be a long year for Chrissy McDevitt and her Wildcats this year. Next team here I'm going to mention here, of course, is the Stony Creek Cougars. Of course, Stony Creek, of course, they were an interesting team last year. They returned 6 juniors from a team. They lost 8 seniors. This was mostly a senior, sophomore team a year ago. Now the senior team is gone. It's the time for the junior team to shine. They're led by Sammy Satman. Of course, she's their outside hitter. I think it could be an interesting year for Coach Maddie Moran and her crew because, Stony Creek not only has to defend, they have to defend the Rochester City title as well this year, and that could be a very interesting challenge, especially when you look at teams like Rochester and Rochester Adams who are improved, and also you got to look at and the divisions maybe a little bit better when you look at teams. You got to deal with teams like Seaholm, Lake Orion, Clarkston, and Troy on a consistent basis. That's not going to be an easy thing to do with, and also in tournament play, you're gonna probably have to deal with these teams again heading into the year. But when you look at Stony Creek, it's an interesting team to watch this year. And the last team here on this list is the Farmington Falcons. Falcons moved up from the white to the blue to the red. It's a tough jump for them. I think that Farmington could have some trouble this year heading into the division. When you look at teams in there, I think that Farmington could have a very unique situation. Being up, I think the experience will help them out, and it could be a very interesting year if you're a Falcon this year. Of course, when you look at the schedule, of course, Lake Orion, Clarkson, that game's at. If you look at the schedules this year for each team, I think Lake Orion's probably got the dream schedule out of this whole thing because you got Seaholm at home. You're gonna have Oxford at home. You're gonna have Stony Creek at home. You're also gonna have Troy at home. I think either that Troy, I'm not sure there, but they gotta go to Clarkston. But that's not gonna be an easy game right there. Of course, when you look at Clarkston, when you look at and of course, when you look at nightmare schedules, you got to give it to Birmingham Seaholm because they got to go. I think Clarkson goes to Seaholm this year, but they got to go to Lake Orion. That's a game. I think Birmingham Seaholm, that game for sure. I think the game that could decide the red this year is going to be Birmingham Seaholm at Lake Orion because that's going to be a hostile environment. Seaholm has had problems when they came to Lake Orion. It's because of the crowd. It's because of the environment. I just think that when you look at it here, and of course the last time that Heather Lepper brought her team over to Lake Orion, it was an experience she would never forget. And I think it's going to be, and who knows? It could be a very interesting environment right there. Of course, the Dragon ladies have not forgotten what Seaholm did to them last year. What they did, that was mind-boggling, especially when you had like a Birmingham Marion type of atmosphere like that all over again. When of course everybody remembered that one in 2011 when Birmingham Marion was up 24-19 on the Dragons, and Lake Orion ended up coming back and winning game 2, which that ended up changing the whole complexion of that game, and Lake Orion ended up winning in 4. That's what happened here with Lake Orion and Seaholm, in that game 3, I think it was, when Lake Orion had the lead, and then Birmingham Seaholm came back and won that game. It ended up being a 5-game street fight to the finish, and that was eventually ended up won by Birmingham Seaholm. Of course, the league this year, of course, you look at the top 10 of the Dragons Den volleyball poll here coming up here. This is a very unique poll here. Of course, the top 10, of course, is the number 10 ranked team here on this list. Of course, Troy Colts. They returned 13 of 14 starters from a team that was decimated last season. Number 9 is Oak Park. The Knights, of course, led by Jasmine Stackhouse. I think the Knights are ready to make that step from in the blue this year and could be a dark horse in that division. 8 is the Royal Oak Ravens. Of course, they return Alyssa Karpinski and Nina Sawicz to a team, and also they had a very strong JV team that's back. Number 7, of course, is Bloomfield Hills, the Blackhawks. They returned 6 starters on a team that was very good last year for Coach Robert Hurdle, but we'll see what happens there. Of course, number 6 is Troy Athens. A lot of experience back, led by Dakota Stainchuk, Alexis Van Hoff, and Michelle Donato. And then, of course, number 5, I'm going with the Berkeley Bears. Got Chloe Wrinkle, Grace Hamill back for them, and also it'll be very interesting there. Of course, number 4, of course, I'm going to go with the Clarkson Wolves because I'm not sold on their backcourt. They got Taylor Dillinger back, but their backcourt's an issue. I think that's going to be a huge question this year for Clarkston. When he looks at it right there, of course. Number 3, of course, I'm going to go with the Lake Orion Dragons because, they return Hannah Murdoch, Rachel Gaiwa. Those 2 players are huge for this team if they want to be very, very good this season. But also, if they can exceed expectations and also develop consistency, it cannot be sporadic like it's been the last 2 seasons under Coach Ross Tabbitt. But if they can avoid the inconsistency bug, then Lake Orion can be a very dangerous team heading into 2014. Of course, the number 2 ranked team on this list is the Aberdale Yellow Jackets. The Yellow Jackets are a very interesting team. They had an experienced team last year. Of course, they're led by Colleen Mayer, Emma Ahern, and Haley Billinger for Coach Rosemary Monotemi. And, of course, the number 1 ranked team in the Dragons' Den top 10 is the Birmingham Seaholm Maples. The Maples are a very unique team, very experienced, very loaded. They return a lot of experience from a team last year for Coach Heather Lipper and her crew. I just think that Birmingham Seaholm right now is on a mission. I think that they're going to do some damage heading into 2014. And if they can stay healthy, for sure, then I think Birmingham Seaholm could do wonders heading into 2014. Of course, you got to look at the season coming up. There's a lot of excitement coming up. A lot of people look at, and especially when it comes to November, when you look at it here, everybody has a chance to be a state champion. Of course, there can only be one state champion, and it depends on them. It's a hard road to get there. It's a hard road. It's not going to be an easy road for these teams, for all 24 of the OAA teams this year. It's not going to be an easy road to get there. When you look at the districts, when I look at them and I analyze them, of course, Seaholm, of course, this year, of course, got to go through Birmingham, Marion, Bloomfield Hill, same thing. Avondale, of course, with Troy Athens. Lake Orion, of course, Lake Orion, Clarkson, whoever wins that, I think is probably going to have to deal with Romeo in the regional final. I think that team, and I think whoever wins that matchup, I think could go far in the state playoffs. And then I think Birmingham Seaholm's got a good chance to knock off Birmingham Marion. It's not going to be an easy thing to do, even because at Birmingham Marion the district is at this year. And then of course when you look at teams like Royal Oak, Groves, Oak Park, and I think there's a 4-team race there. And who knows? It's gonna be a very fun season to watch this year in girls volleyball. You got some very good teams in here. You got some teams that can do some damage, But we'll see what happens this year. Of course, there's some teams that are going to be very, very honest heading into 2014. Once again, here I am Sammy Taormina. Of course, on next show we'll be at OAA Media Day for football, and of course it's very interesting to see how other coaches and other players talk to you. During the Media Day proceedings, the first annual OAA Media Day at Rochester High School coming up on the 8th of August. So it'll be interesting. I'd like to thank my producer and coordinator Joe Velez, who was here today. Also, I'd like to thank, of course, our guest, the Double O Trophy, who is here as well. When you look at it, the Double O Trophy looks very, very good. Very nice in Lake Orion. Of course, it looks nice as always. And, of course, keep an eye on the updates from the West Bloomfield situation in boys basketball. Of course, that was a tough situation to look at when you look at the papers. Of course, the Dragons Den blog will keep an eye on it as everything progresses on that one. Once again, I'd like to sign out here. Of course, I am Sammy Taormina of the blogger for the Dragons Den and the OA and OA and host of OA Now and host of Between Terminus on O1 TV. Wishing you guys all a sign off and good night.
OAA Now is produced at Orion Neighborhood Television, Lake Orion's community media outlet. To learn more about ONTV, visit our website at www.orionontv.org or call us at 248-393-1060.